Jason Statham is widely recognized as one of Hollywood's leading action stars, a status earned through high-octane films such as The Transporter, Crank, and The Expendables. With his chiseled physique, gravelly voice, and no-nonsense attitude, he has carved out a niche as the quintessential tough guy on screen. Audiences flock to his films not just for the adrenaline-pumping stunts, but also for his charismatic presence, often embodying characters who are gritty, resourceful, and slightly flawed. This public persona, however, stands in stark contrast to the internal complexities that lie beneath the surface. While he has portrayed numerous characters who confront danger with fierce determination, Jason's real life has been defined by a more nuanced struggle with personal relationships. The actor often guards his private life closely from the media spotlight, choosing to keep his romantic escapades and emotional battles away from fans' prying eyes. However, his image as an indomitable hero will soon be put to the test in an unexpected way. As Statham prepares for another day of training and filming, an unrelenting routine that focuses on perfecting his craft. Everything changes with the arrival of a letter. This correspondence shakes the very foundation of the life he has carefully crafted, hinting at a chapter he never anticipated: fatherhood. Thus begins a journey that promises to take him beyond the action-packed sequences of his films, diving deep into the realms of emotion and discovery. The day began like any other for Jason, enveloped in the familiar rhythm of early morning workouts and script readings. After a grueling session at the gym, he returned home, the scent of fresh coffee filling the air. As he settled into his routine, Jason noticed a plain envelope lying on the kitchen table, its simplicity stark against the backdrop of his busy life. Curiosity flickered within him as he picked it up. There were no identifying marks or hints about its origin that he hesitated, torn between the mundane and the uncharted. What could possibly warrant an envelope so unadorned? With a swift motion, he tore it open, revealing a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was neat yet unfamiliar, conveying a sense of urgency that felt palpable. As he read the words, his heart raced. It was a letter from a young man claiming to be his son. Every word felt like a punch to the gut, stirring emotions Jason rarely allowed himself to confront. The letter detailed the sender's life and the circumstances surrounding his birth, details Jason had never considered in his most introspective moments. Confusion mingled with intrigue as he tried to process the implications of this message. The man who had always faced adversities head-on now found himself grappling with an entirely different kind of challenge. Understanding the reality of a son he never knew and what that could mean for his future. With trembling hands, Jason absorbed the contents of the letter, each sentence striking like a bolt of lightning. The writer introduced himself as Ethan, a 17-year-old who had spent most of his life unaware of his father's identity. As Jason read on, he learned that Ethan's mother, a former girlfriend from years ago, had chosen to keep his existence a secret, believing it was for the best. Ethan described a childhood filled with questions about his father, an elusive figure who lingered in the shadows of family stories but never stepped into the light. He recounted moments of longing and confusion, sharing how he'd often imagined meeting Jason and what that might be like. The emotional weight of the words pressed heavily on Jason's chest. He could almost feel Ethan's yearning for connection. The letter detailed Ethan's life so far, his achievements in school, love for soccer, and dreams of pursuing a path in filmmaking, an echo of Jason's own journey. Yet, beneath the accomplishments lay layers of pain and frustration over the absence of a paternal figure. As Jason continued reading, he found himself grappling with guilt and regret over choices made long ago. Ethan's words resonated deeply within him, illuminating not just the boy's struggles, but also the potential for a relationship that could alter both their lives. Jason felt an undeniable urge to reach out and bridge this gap, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the chaos swirling in his heart. After putting down the letter, Jason felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. Shock coursed through his veins, leaving him momentarily frozen in disbelief. How could this be real? A son he never knew existed, revealed through the ink of a stranger's handwriting. The walls of his carefully constructed life seemed to close in around him, filled with questions that threatened to spill over. Memories of his past relationships surged unbidden into his mind. each one tinged with regret and uncertainty. He recollected moments with Ethan's mother, the passion that had once ignited between them overshadowed now by the weight of choices made long ago. Did she believe this was the best path for them? Would things have been different if he had known? Each thought spiraled into another, compounding his sense of loss and wonder. The realization that another life had grown up without him was both haunting and illuminating. Jason's heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. Fear of what being a father might mean at this stage of his life, and hope that perhaps it wasn't too late to forge a connection. How would he even start to reach out to a boy who had been living with this absence? As vulnerability seeped into his usually tough exterior, he acknowledged that this was no longer just an abstract idea. It was a call to action that could redefine his understanding of family and responsibility. Jason sat in silence, the weight of the letter still heavy in his hands. Memories began to unfold like a film reel in his mind. He found himself transported back to a summer several years ago, a time when he was deeply in love with a spirited woman named Laura. Their relationship had ignited with an intensity that was both exhilarating and consuming. They spent lazy afternoons on sun-drenched beaches, shared whispered dreams under starlit skies, and reveled in each other's company, blissfully unaware of the complexities their future might hold. However, as the months passed, the pressures of his burgeoning career began to seep into their lives. Jason was often away filming, wrapped up in the demands of action-packed schedules and public appearances. Despite their passionate connection, the distance took its toll on Laura, who felt increasingly isolated and anxious about their future together. It was during one of these tumultuous moments that Laura confided in him about her fears and desires for a family. But instead of embracing the conversation, Jason had hesitated, caught between his ambitions and the prospect of fatherhood. Miscommunication and unspoken doubts drove a wedge between them, leading to their painful separation. In the months that followed, Jason buried himself in work, pushing aside thoughts of what could have been now. With Ethan's letter stirring up long-buried emotions, he faced haunting questions about choices made and paths not taken. Wondering if he had lost more than just a relationship, perhaps he had lost a piece of himself along the way. Determined to understand more about Ethan and the life he had missed, Jason set off on a quest for answers. He first reached out to a few acquaintances from his past who might have connections to Laura, hoping to piece together the puzzle of their shared history. His heart raced at the thought of meeting anyone who might illuminate the path that had led from love to absence. After some digging, he was able to track down one of Laura's close friends, Julia, who had watched their relationship flourish before it fractured. They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe, a place where old memories surged back for Jason. With every glance around the room, as he sat across from Julia, he felt an avalanche of emotions, nervousness intertwined with a desperation to learn all he could. Julia was hesitant, but willing to share what she knew about Laura and Ethan. She spoke of Laura's struggles as a single mother, reflecting on how fiercely protective she was of their son. Her eyes softened as she recounted Ethan's spirited nature and how he had inherited certain traits from both parents. Jason listened intently, each detail adding another layer to the young man who had reached out to him. As they talked, Jason's determination grew stronger. He needed to step into this new chapter with openness and courage. Gathering his thoughts, he resolved not only to understand Ethan's world, but also to actively become part of it. A leap toward reconciliation and newfound connection. The day Jason had both anticipated and dreaded finally arrived. He stood outside a small cafe, his heart pounding as he waited for Ethan to arrive. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the pavement, but all he could focus on was the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Excitement, anxiety, and a hint of fear about how this first meeting would unfold. When Ethan walked in, Jason felt time momentarily stand still. The boy bore a striking resemblance to him. Strong features and a confident gait that spoke of resilience. As their eyes met, an electric tension filled the air. Jason offered a tentative smile, unsure of how to bridge the gap between them. "Hey," he managed to say, his voice slightly hoarse. "Hi," Ethan replied, his tone equally cautious but laced with curiosity. They took seats across from each other, the initial silence pregnant with unspoken thoughts. Jason noticed the slight tremor in Ethan's hands as he fidgeted with the edges of his jacket. "Your letter, IT, really got to me," Jason began, feeling compelled to break the ice. Ethan nodded, his gaze shifting briefly to the table before locking eyes again, this time with more openness. "I just wanted to know you," he said softly. They shared their first conversation. Each word felt monumental. They were not just two strangers meeting for coffee, but two lives intertwined by fate. The tension slowly began to ebb as they exchanged stories, Jason sharing tales of his film career, while Ethan spoke of school and soccer dreams, each moment laying the foundation for a relationship that could redefine both their futures. Days turned into weeks. Jason and Ethan began to navigate the complexities of their newfound relationship. They met regularly, often grabbing burgers or strolling through parks, each encounter marked with moments of joy paired with underlying tension. Jason was determined to bridge the gaps created by years of absence. But he quickly learned that conversations could be both enlightening and challenging, that Ethan's guarded demeanor sometimes made it difficult for them to connect fully. He would often hesitate before sharing deeper thoughts or feelings, a reflex born from years of yearning for a father who was never there. Jason understood this instinctively. He had spent a lifetime perfecting the art of deflection himself, especially in his public persona. Yet, he knew that being vulnerable was essential for forging trust. In one of their heart-to-heart discussions, Ethan mentioned how difficult it had been growing up without guidance, a void Jason had unintentionally perpetuated. The confession stung, causing Jason to reflect on the choices he made that led to this moment. Gradually, the walls they had built began to show cracks as they discovered common interests. Both shared a love for action movies and a passion for sports. They found comfort in laughter over shared experiences and even lighthearted banter about their favorite roles and actors. Jason worked hard on being present and open, encouraging Ethan to express his fears and aspirations openly. Each small breakthrough came with its own set of challenges, moments filled with uncertainty, that ultimately paved the way for deeper connections. With resilience and patience from both sides, they started constructing the foundation of a meaningful relationship, one built on understanding, acceptance, and the hope of healing past wounds. Becoming a father later in life has profoundly reshaped Jason's perspective on family, responsibility, and love. As he continues to build his relationship with Ethan, he finds himself reflecting on what it truly means to be a parent. The days spent together, filled with laughter over shared interests and moments of vulnerability, have opened his eyes to the joys and struggles inherent in fatherhood. Jason's once single-minded focus on his career has shifted. He now recognizes the importance of investing time and energy into nurturing this new bond. Each encounter with Ethan brings forth not just the exhilaration of connection, but also a deep sense of accountability. He grapples with the weight of missed years, feeling both remorse for not being there and a renewed commitment to making up for lost time. Through their conversations, Jason begins to understand that love is not just an emotion, but an active choice that requires effort and dedication. He learns to appreciate the nuances of fatherhood, how it involves listening more than speaking, offering guidance without dictating choices, and supporting dreams while fostering independence. This growth transforms him. He becomes more attuned to his own emotions and those of others. Jason embraces this unexpected chapter in his life. He finds that fatherhood is not merely about rectifying past mistakes, but about creating new memories filled with acceptance and hope. That IT is an opportunity for him to redefine himself, not just as an action star, but as a caring father who strives to build a meaningful legacy for Ethan and himself. Jason reflects on the journey he and Ethan have embarked upon. He recognizes that their relationship has blossomed into something transformative. What began as a letter filled with unspoken questions and uncertainty has evolved into a bond marked by trust and understanding. The experiences they've shared, moments of laughter, vulnerability, and open conversations, have allowed them both to heal from the past while paving the way for a new future. This journey has not only highlighted themes of forgiveness, but also illustrated the power of redemption. Jason grapples with his previous choices, acknowledging the pain they caused, but also embracing the chance to make amends. Through his relationship with Ethan, he learns that mistakes do not define one's life. Rather, it is the courage to confront them and seek change that offers true growth. Moreover, their story serves as a poignant reminder that life often provides second chances when least expected. Jason's initial fears about fatherhood have transformed into a profound commitment to being present in Ethan's life, a commitment that brings with it the joy of newfound love and acceptance. In choosing to embrace this role, Jason discovers that fatherhood is not just about rectifying past absences. It's about actively crafting memories together, learning from one another, and creating a shared narrative filled with hope that as they move forward, both father and son are equipped with the tools necessary to build a meaningful legacy rooted in connection, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of brighter tomorrows.